Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood YouTuber, guys. And if you've guys been paying attention to a lot of the comic book news that's been going on today, there's been some kind of breaking news, I guess, so to speak, within Hasbro. They've released an image with their Marvel Legends mimicking the classic comic book. This comic book, the first issue from 1991, guys. And if you're a fan of this comic book, or maybe you might be too young to know about this comic book, there's an interesting story behind, an interesting story of mine behind these comic books, guys, because if you've went to Hasbro and went to their site, and you see that they have brought out all the Marvel Legends, and these are actually 4 comic books. Now, they're the same comic book, okay? But they're 4 different covers. This was a big thing back in the 90s. This came out in 91, I believe it was. And it was the first issue of X-Men. And what they're doing, what they're going to be doing, what Hasbro is going to be doing at San Diego Comic-Con, jeez, I can't speak today, man, is that they're going to bring out the poster for the X-Men, but with the Marvel Legends posed in this fashion right here. So when you go to Comic-Con to collect the poster, you're going to be receiving a poster based on these images from these classic covers. Now let me put this down here for you guys so you can see it a little bit better. And if you pay attention to these comic books, these are actually my comic books right here. They form a puzzle, right? So there is that right there. I don't know how well you guys can see this. And I'll tell you the interesting story about this and how I came about these comic books, because I didn't have these comic books to begin with. I only had one. But we're going to look at the image first. So here is the image, and they hinted also at a possible Marvel Legend Jean Grey right here as well, because they had the Marvel Legend action figure right there, because we pretty much have all these action figures, these Marvel Legend action figures right now, with the exception of a new Jean Grey. So they're hinting that they are going to be releasing a new Jean Grey. But before we get into all that, I just want to show you the comic book. This is the same comic book, but just like I said, different colors. And you can see how it leads into there's Storm's cape right there. And you see Storm and Archangel, Beast, Jean Grey, Professor on one cover. And then over here, you have Colossus, you have Gambit, you have Psylocke, you have Rogue, and then you see the piece of ice translating over here into the other comic book. There is Iceman right there. Then you have Cyclops and Wolverine and Iceman on one cover. And then if you pay attention, you can see the stream, Cyclops' stream, hitting Magneto, which is Magneto right here. He's the front cover of this comic book right here. Now, let me tell you a little interesting story about these comic book guys. Growing up in the 90s, I knew that these comic books existed, but I didn't know that they came together and formed like a little puzzle, like a little piece, or like a little poster, which San Diego Comic-Con is going to be giving to people at the convention. But let me tell you a little interesting story about this guy. So back in 91, when I was a little itty bitty little kid, this was one of the first comic books I ever bought. Okay, fast forward probably 25 years later or something of that nature, or something like that. Last year I started collecting like vintage 90s X-Men comic books because I was a fan of Jim Lee, and I'm a big Spawn fan, so I love Jim Lee, and I love Todd McFarlane. I love a lot of their art that they did, and especially with Jim Lee's artwork on display, and others from the Image community. Did an amazing job, and that's one of the main reasons why I collect a lot of 90s comic books, even though their value is not that great. but the images are just brilliant and magnificent, as you can see right here in front of your eyes. But going back to this comic book right here, yeah, this is the one I bought back all the way back in '91, guys. And this comic book has stuck with me ever since. So this was one of the first comic books I ever bought. Like I said, fast forward 25 some odd years. And then last year I started buying more vintage X-Men comic books. So these three I just recently picked up: Magneto, and then this X-Men cover, and this X-Men cover. And let me tell you an interesting story. Just last year, guys, I just realized that all four of these comic books went together. I didn't even know it at the time. And so I had to go through my comic book collection, and then I was like, oh yeah. Then I had to Google and then see how they lined up, and then I realized that I had all four of these comic books. Isn't that crazy? Like, this started off like almost 25, maybe 30 years ago. Well, not 30 years ago, because I'm not that old. But probably over 20 years ago, I started off with this one, and then I picked up these three later last year. Come to realize it's all one big poster, puzzle, however you want to put it. And I thought it would be an awesome time right now to show you these comic books, guys, that I've picked up last year, and then a comic book that I've had pretty much all my life, which is crazy. And so for Marvel Legends to reveal a poster based on the Marvel Legend figures, and they're going to be passing out at Comic-Con, is really, really awesome. And it's just going to be a really, really awesome thing to attend. And also, you know, back to Marvel Legends again, they did an amazing job with all the figures that they've put out. I've reviewed pretty much all of these figures. And I just recently reviewed that Colossus, and it's just amazing how far Marvel has come. And I just wanted to show you guys this little, my little collection, my little X-Men comic book collection here for you guys. And yeah, and they're definitely going to bring out a new Jean Grey as well. So yeah, this is kind of like perfect timing. I just wanted to show you guys my little comic book collection. And for those who are not familiar with this, those, you know, who might be a little bit too young to remember these comic books, or to have owned these comic books, I mean, you can find them for pretty cheap right now in a lot of comic book stores. But I think, you know, because of the big plunge in the 90s with the comic books, a lot of people are going back and buying a lot of these 90s comic books because they were so awesome. So I wanted to show you that, guys. And if you want, you know, being that we got time, I can take out one of these comic books and I can show you, because it's, even though they have the same covers, it's the same story inside the comic book. So for those who actually want to see inside the comic book, if you want to sit through, and because I'm just going to do a little flick through, a little read through, and I'll show you show you the inside of these comic books, because you guys are probably intrigued. And look at that, man. See, this is how old this comic book is. Look at that, Game Boy, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure on Game Boy. And oddly enough, guys, they are doing another Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure movie. Whether it's going to be called Excellent Adventure, who knows? But yeah, they're going to do another Bill and Ted movie, which is crazy, man. Crazy. It's crazy how life comes full circles. You know what I mean? And there's like a classic, beautiful picture of Magneto right there. It's beautiful art, man. Art is just amazing. And yeah, you can tell it's Jim Lee's artwork right there. Penciler Jim Lee. And Jim Lee was just a brilliant, and still is a brilliant artist. And look at this Flair, Flair football cards, guys. Man, can't remember anybody who collected football cards back in the day. I remember a lot of people collected basketball cards. Myself collected a lot of basketball cards as well. And also I've collected a lot of like Marvel trading cards as well. I've done numerous reviews on my channel of Marvel trading cards. And look at that, man. Look at the beautiful imagery. Jim Lee was just a master, man, at, you know, master artist, man. Brilliant, brilliant artist. I mean, you know, if he picked up a paintbrush and threw some of his art onto a canvas, you know, he'd be one of the most famous artists in the world right now. And just the artwork on here is just absolutely amazing, guys. And I'm so glad that Hasbro is doing a Marvel Legends, redoing these Marvel Legends, man, because these are the figures that I grew up with. These are the comic books that I grew up with. I grew up with the cartoons as well. And it's just absolutely, absolutely amazing, what Hasbro is doing. But the amazing artwork in here, guys, I figure it was worth a view. And I just wanted to show you for some of the younger viewers who can't remember this, or even some of the older viewers who can't remember, these comic books, man. If you didn't grow up collecting these comic books, this is kind of where it all started. Look at that beautiful image, man. This is kind of where it all started, for me. And then, got into action figures later on in life. But the beautiful imagery in here, man, it's very, very awesome. And the storytelling is just on point. It's absolutely breathtaking. The artwork is breathtaking. Wolverine in the brown suit. He wasn't in the yellow suit in this one. But, yeah, I just recently did a review of the Marvel Wolverine in the brown suit. And there's Beast. So I figure it'd be a good time to show you guys this comic book and just show you some of the amazing images, Look at Psylocke. Wow, man. She's open for business. And just show you some of the amazing imagery of Jim Lee and how, Hasbro is bringing, the comic book to life, man, with a lot of these amazing action figures that they're putting out. And we'll go through a quick look through and the amazing imagery of Jim Lee. Amazing. I definitely would love to see Jim Lee at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, man, because they brought a lot of his characters to life, man, with Hasbro, because Hasbro has been knocking it out of the park, man. They've been doing a really, really fantastic job. And look, this is where it started it all, guys. I had all these figures growing up, the Toy Biz action figures. I had all of these figures, man. Except for the Magneto. I don't think I've ever had the Magneto, but other than that, I had all the figures. Maybe not Archangel either, but all the rest of these figures I do remember having. And now, as an adult, for Hasbro to come out and redo all these figures again, just absolutely amazing. And a lot of these vintage action figures that you're seeing now are based on these figures that you see right in front of you, which is pretty awesome. Okay, guys, I just wanted to touch on that and show you this little gem that I have right here. If you guys have been watching my reviews, check out my reviews. I've been doing a lot of X-Men Marvel Legends lately. And I'm glad to have this in my collection. If you guys didn't know about this, I'm glad to bring this to your attention, especially to a lot of you young viewers out there. So we'll go ahead and leave it at that, guys. If you like this little review, I guess you can call it a review. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want to receive more cool reviews like this. And there you guys have it. I just want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye!